So you want to corner your mountain bike, but you feel like it's standing you up worse than your 8th grade dance date back in 1982. I understand how you feel. It's a rough thing, but we're gonna fix that today because I have descended deep into the depths of the knowledge base, into the Epic of Nargamesh. It's kind of similar to the Epic of Gilgamesh, but this one's a little different because it has to do with your mountain bike cornering. And we've made this library, this epic tale of success with cornering on a mountain bike. We're gonna dive into the science of centripetal acceleration. We're gonna dive into technique. We're also gonna talk a little bit about athleticism. And these are the things that you're missing if you're an intermediate mountain biker and you're stuck with cornering, okay? If you're stuck with cornering for more than a few weeks, it means that you're doing it too long, and this video will help you fix it. So pay close attention. Now, first of all, we need to get Mr. T. Mr. TV, hello. Now, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Dave Davidson. I'm on a mission to help the world of mountain biking shred with confidence by restoring athleticism. It's the #1 thing that we've lost as mountain bikers, and I'm here to fix this. Now, if you're listening to this video, if you like it, share it with a mountain biker right now. We need to help people because we have a crash crisis on our hands. The statistics are through the roof. Most mountain bikers are just getting lucky until they break a collarbone. So send this to a friend right now, send this to a riding group, let them see these breakdowns and we'll help them out, all right? So first thing we need to do is we need to pick a good line for cornering, okay? This is kind of like where the paintbrush goes, and later we're gonna talk about, okay, how do you pick the paint and how do you make sure the paintbrush is held at the right angle and all that stuff. But first of all, it's like, well, where are you going to go, all right? If we plan to go somewhere on the trail, we have that intention started out, then this will help us with how to corner on the mountain bike. So we're gonna play this in slow motion. What you're gonna notice is that I start out high up on the trailer. I'm outside. In other words, if the turn is to the right, I'm going up to the left to start out. And the reason why this can be helpful to you on 90 to 95% of just trail riding and downhill riding for fun is that it makes it easy to do your turning up here early and then you make adjustments down there later on. What we don't want to do is get really inside on the turn and then end up with one of these shapes we have to make where we turn really hard, really fast in the middle. That can be fun too, but it's more advanced, and I've been watching you guys because I've talked to thousands of riders, and like, we just need to get the basics first, okay? So getting up high in the turn allows me to do my turning up here, and then also on a downhill turn like this, it allows me to do my turn after I brake, which means that I can do my turn while I'm going slower, which is easier, okay? There's less to deal with. And the reason why I told you I'd break down the science is this formula, AC equals mv squared over r. Centripetal acceleration, or the feeling of you getting stood up in the turn, equals your mass times the velocity squared over the radius of the turn. So if I make the radius bigger, I can reduce the force of centripetal acceleration that I need to get grip on. If I make the turn less sharp and I do my turning up here and not at the fast part, then the velocity squared, which is the biggest component, my speed is more under control, meaning that there's less mass or less energy to control when I'm down near the bottom, all right? So for all you geeks that get that, give me a thumbs up in the chat. And for anyone that didn't understand what in the world I just said, do your turning while you're slower is easier. There you go. So up here, notice how I've turned my handlebars a little bit and I'm turning my upper body ever so slightly. You can see the difference in my back wheel's pointed this way and my front wheel is pointed in a different direction. That's because I braked here, okay? I braked here and then I turned a little bit right there. Now, once I've done my turn, watch this. I've already done 50% of the turning before the trail even goes downhill, and I can, ride through easily. No big deal. So let's have another view at that, nice and slow motion. So I want to set up to the turn, remember high, which is left on this case. So right here I've already picked, I'm aiming for this little spot high on the trail. And as I come up here, you may be able to see my tire go to the right first and then to the left. So for some of you, you might ride motorcycles and you counter steer a motorcycle. You can do that here. You can also just kind of point the bike where you want it to go. It doesn't need to necessarily be a counter steer. More advanced would definitely be a counter steer. where you steer the bike out of the way while the body's going this way, and then let the bike catch up to you. I did do that here, but again, a little bit more advanced. So I'm gonna put that tire up high on the left side of the trail, and I'm going to let my body weight maybe fall a little bit to the right. What this allows me to do is to, again, turn the bike around my body mass without me having to change how my body mass is moving. I just go in a straight line. It's easier, okay? Then I'm going to turn my eyes and look down the trail where I need to go. So I picked a slower frame rate, don't hate me. So I'm looking down here. I'm actually looking with my head in the middle of the trail after 90% of the turning is done. Also, my eyes are looking a little further ahead than that. Can't tell because this is a GoPro, not my eyeballs. And then right here, this is where I'm going to get really low and lean the bike over and turn everything where it needs to go. And boom, okay? Again, not the fastest turn of all time, but you get the idea. So what you wanna do to practice this is you wanna start going slow and aiming up high on the turn and doing most of the turning right here. If you can do most of the turning here, then the rest is easy. And also, with a downhill turn like this, you may want to do something a little bit more advanced called 2, 1, none braking. I made an entire video of how to do that right here. I'll put that in the little linky link. Click on that, watch it. It gives you the full breakdown, but I'll stick with this basic for now. Again, start up high on the trail, do your turning up here, and play around with it. You may even want to go so slow that you think that you're over slowing down. And then by the time you get to here, just do your whole turn and then let yourself flow down the rest of the trail with a lower speed so it's easier to control, okay? When you do this, it gives you more control and it gives you more traction. Now let's talk a little bit about the concept of keeping traction on the trail. I'm gonna give you guys one quick tip. Don't use your front brake on a downhill turn except for on the straight part. Optimally, you wanna use no brakes as much as possible, but in some cases like this downhill turn, we're gonna need to use our brakes. Now, I wanna break down in depth everything body position wise and athletically that's going on here. So again, the main concept is I need to pick my line. I'm high up on the trail, and this allows me to do my turning inside of where my line is. So a lot of you guys, you get really inside on the trail, in other words, to the right, rider's right, and I've got nowhere else to go except for left. That's why you feel like you're getting stood up. Another thing that can really stop you is this pedal press. So I talk about this a lot on the channel. The pedal press is where I can push forward on the front foot and I can press back on the back foot so that I don't fall forward or backward while I'm riding the bike. Literally got a comment the other day that said, man, I've been riding for 20, 30, 40 years. This is the best tip I've ever gotten on a mountain bike, bar none, and I'm using it and it's incredible. So if you don't use the pedal press, you need to use the pedal press. It's the simplest thing of all time. You just stand on the bike, push the pedals away from each other. Now I want to walk through a fine refinement of the pedal press that allows me to have a lot of control on the bike. And do you notice how my front foot is up like this, okay? I'm able to kind of sink behind that front foot. I'm gonna sneeze. Okay. Now notice I'm not just arbitrarily dropping my heels. When people tell you to drop your heels, you lose the ability to, again, I see this all the time with mountain bikers on downhill turns, is they drop their heels and they sit behind the bike and it feels like you need to do this with your arms. You need to film yourself. If you're going downhill on a turn and your arms come in like this and you're feeling like you're going backward on the bike, it's your foot position. So you need to do this instead. Everyone's gonna say, get your elbows out. I don't even try. I don't get anything with my elbows. I go to the 8th grade dance like this. And I've got like 12 8th grade, this is again, back in 8th grade. I was an 8th grader, they were 8th graders, okay? It's like we were all doing this. I don't have to try because I'm jamming, all right? You should too. It's your feet. You dance with your feet first. So what you gotta do is be able to stand inside of those pedals. When you do this, I can brake and make adjustments and my weight doesn't go flying forward or backward and my entire body is able to move. Very important concept, okay? So the first concept is, again, this idea of the pedal press right here. The best riders in the world use this. If you pause their videos, they have a better one than I do. Sometimes their feet are angled up 20 degrees higher. I just don't quite have that level of mobility, okay? So you need to focus on this pedal press so that you do not get thrown forward or backward on the bike. Again, number one thing I see with riders is that they just hang backwards and it's weird. They push on their hands, but their body is held backwards and it creates this entire bracing thing and they can't move. They can't make balance adjustments. And so they end up just grabbing the brake to go slower. This is no fun. It actually takes all the joy out of mountain biking. And it's ridiculous because here you are with your $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 bike. You just took a 3-hour trip to go ride with your friends and you look like a dinosaur. It's ridiculous. So fix it. The way you fix it, pedal press, standing inside of those pedals and using your feet to balance. What you're gonna notice though is it allows me to have a nice long spine here and my arms are allowed to make adjustments with balance. And the second key is here, I've got to tilt the bike way over. You're gonna notice that the seat is tucked in behind my knee and I'm twisted massively on top of the bike. So this twist, I'm about 30% of the way done with the turn and I'm already facing and I'm turned towards the end of the turn. Do you see this? Okay? To be honest, 95%, it's 97% of riders that I speak with, I'm ballparking here, but I do a riding assessment in the Athlete Accelerator, which is my performance intensive for intermediate riders that I work directly with riders on, and no one's able to do this. It's a purely athletic move. We gotta fix the athleticism first, then this comes later. So when I work with riders in a 90-day performance intensive, this is one of the things we do. We get them to turn on top of their bike while in balance, okay? Now, I'm able to rip down these turns nice and fast and easy with tons of balance and tons of playfulness because I have opened up hips, all right? I did an entire video on why you should open up your hips on cornering first before anything else. You can watch it here. But right now, this opening of the hips is because I have a nice, steady pedal press. And two, it's because of some off-the-bike work that I've done to enable me to have mobility and strength and athleticism to be able to lean the bike without having to even push on it hardly at all. It just leans over. So when you open your hips, the bike just goes where you need it to go, and I can make those balance adjustments with my arms like this. So when you have the ability to shape your body like this, the bike honestly, like you just figure it out. It feels like you're a kid, all right? So this hip swing where I've rotated the hips on top of the bike is very important. If you video yourself, you're gonna see the hip is outside. It's closer to the outside foot than it is to the inside foot. This is what allows you to have movement and range of motion with the bike to make those balance adjustments, okay? So when the feet are in the right place, then I can move the upper body because I'm not locked. And when I'm not locked and I can move, it makes cornering easy because then I can choose down here to tilt the bike and get those side knobs to bite into the corner even though there's leaves and it's off camber and there's loose, dusty, worn out nastiness, okay? It makes it very easy. All right, let's watch this in slow motion together. Whole thing. Get up high, balance on my feet, tilt that bike over, and ride off into the sunset. So right after this, I came home and I ate a whole bunch of wonderful cookies my wife made me. So you can get yourself a cookie by being really good at cornering. I corner for cookies, and you should too. Now let's move on to the next thing. Now let's talk about this again. So should you drop your outside foot or should you keep your pedals level? It doesn't really matter. There's a trade-off to each one. I'm gonna go over those right now very quickly because remember what I said, I need to be able to tilt the bike over, but I don't wanna do it by pushing the bike down necessarily. You can achieve this just by tilting the arms over and getting really low. What's more important is how we stand on the bike, okay? If I have balance through my legs, then I don't have to do very many adjustments with my upper body. It just kind of goes where I need it to go. Now, how can I prove this? Well, it's very simple. If you stand on top of the bike, which I don't recommend you do, but if I'm standing on top of the bike and I put a hand on a desk, I can wiggle the bike side to side by pressing on my pedals, okay? That is easier to do than just wiggling the bike here and locking the bike the other way. Now my whole body is in like a side plank, okay? That's stiff. I don't wanna be stiff. I wanna be mobile on the bike. That's how you ride like the pros on TV. So level pedals, and outside foot dropped. I can do both. You can too. Here's the thing. With outside foot dropped, there's a penalty and there's a benefit. The penalty is that now I need to create a brace throughout the entire body to stay balanced forward and backward. Why? Because I have one point I'm balancing on the outside foot. I can reduce my need to balance on that one point by adding pressure to the inside foot, that's this one, and I can just add equal pressure to both while I have the outside foot dropped. It helps a little bit, but again, if I'm doing this, I'm basically standing on top of a pogo stick. So I need to have a nice, strong core, and this is really hard to do if you are not extremely strong and mobile and you don't have good athleticism, okay? I do recommend that you have this skill in the bag if you do downhill racing, if you do slalom racing, if you do anything with flat corners. It's nice to be able to do this one, frankly. Now let's move on, and there's a penalty and there's a benefit to keeping your pedals level, again, with the horizon. My pedals are not perfectly level, they're level with the horizon. Number one is that this creates not just a side-to-side balance point, so I can push into this foot and I can push into this foot, so I have side-to-side balance, kind of like this. It also creates forward and back balance. Why? Because I can push forward into my front foot and I can push backward into my back foot. This is where a lot of riders get stuck, because when they try to do level pedals, it feels weird on one side. A lot of times right turns feel really good for left foot forward riders, and left turns feel kind of weird, left turns feel really good for right foot forward riders. And the reason why this is because your hips are already naturally predisposed to that side. You need great mobility in the hips in order to do this one. So the downside is this one requires a little bit more practice, more feel, and I think personally this one requires a little bit more practice and a little bit more refinement. You can cheat easier with outside foot down. This one's a little harder to cheat with, but it does give you more balance. Now I want to finish this video up with just a cheat code for you if you want to kind of fast forward all this. So I do recommend you practice with level pedals and with outside foot down, get a feel for both of them, and just session the trail and do the same thing over and over again. Now here's a final cheat code for you for cornering. And what we want to do is move from this. So what you're going to notice here is that my hips are pointed right where I'm going with the bike essentially, and I've got a tiny little bit of bike lean. This is what most riders do, is they have very limited hip swing and they lean their bike all the way over. Guys, if you're able to achieve bike body separation, that's kind of like achieving showing up to the dance in 8th grade. It's like not even an achievement, okay? Bike body separation is the easiest thing of all time. It is literally level 0 of all the levels of life. And I'm not picking on you, it's just that there's more to biking than bike body separation. So not picking on it, it's necessary, but the thing is here, I have minimal hip swing. So I have minimal hip swing, but I've got full bike body separation. You know, my bike is not gonna go any further, it's hitting my knee, right? And so with this, it's fine, but I just have limited hip swing. And so what you wanna do is you wanna exaggerate that hip swing, and the reason why is because there's no penalty to doing this. Okay? There's no penalty at all to doing this. Now, again, I want to show you full bike body separation with outside pedal dropped. Works just fine too. Surprise. Look at that. You can do this. Either one. Okay? This one's going to be uncomfortable for you, but you need to swing those hips. Exaggerated hip swing. This is what you need right here. If you do this really, really well, you will feel like you're twisting and screwing your ankles. Your ankles feel like you've twisted as far as you can go and there's pressure in them to the side, all right? Make a big hip swing. It'll make a big deal, all right? There's probably a song about hip swinging. You should Google that, it's funny. Swing those hips out wide and swing them the other way. Notice, this is a very easy section of trail. I can swing my hips as far as they can go with my pedals level or outside foot dropped. And I have 10 times more control than I would have if I did not swing my hips. You can swing your hips and it makes everything else easier. Just start with this one. It'll help a ton. Do it now. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel, share with a friend. We'll see you on the next one.